Hello everybody, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming bringing you another video. Enjoying all the videos and content we produce, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, click on that like button, and don't be afraid to share. Don't forget to click on the notification button, customize it however you want, but that way you're notified whenever we publish another video. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Diablo 3 video here in Season 26. Today we are taking a look at the wizard. So we are looking at the Firebird's Finery set. So this is the current top pushing build for wizards here in Season 26. For those that are unfamiliar with the build, the two-piece set bonus is that Disintegrate ignites enemies, causing them to take 3000% weapon damage per second until they die. Then also benefit is if you do die, a meteor falls from the sky and revives you, kind of like a phoenix would, if you're familiar with the lore. And then also for our 4-piece, casting Disintegrate adds combustion stacks that reduce the cooldown of teleport by 2% per stack, and that stacks up to 50 times. And then we gain 80% damage reduction while maintaining those combustion stacks. Then lastly, our 6-piece bonus is you gain 5,000 increased damage while Ignite is applied to a target, and then hitting an Ignite enemy with a non-channeled fire spell deals Ignite damage multiplied by combustion stats, which basically means you deal massive amounts of damage. So that's the set bonus that we get from it. So let's take a look at the items we need. For this build, excuse me, oh man, okay, here we go. For this build, sorry about that. It is a Ring of Royal Grandeur build, so we are going to be using that in the cube. And so for those that aren't familiar, the Ring of Royal Grandeur means that we reduce the number of set items we need by 1, or we have to wear a minimum of 2 pieces of the set, and it gives us the bonus of the set. So basically, that means that we're only wearing 5 actual set pieces from the Firebird's Finery and getting the full 6-piece bonus. And this build also utilizes wearing both the All Guild's Authority and the Captain Crimson's Trimmings set as well. So before getting into that, the set pieces that we're wearing for this to complete the set would be we're wearing the helmet, the gloves, the chest piece, the boots, and the swords or the offhand. That'll give us our 6 pieces. And then we are also wearing for All Guilds, we are wearing the bracers and the shoulders. And then for Captain Crimson's, we are wearing the belt and the pants. So we have a ton of set pieces right there. And then the next set that we're wearing is we're going to be wearing the Traveler's Pledge and then the Compass Rose for the Endless Walk bonus. And then the only non-set pieces that we're wearing is we're going to have Convention of Elements for our ring, and then we're using the Fragment of Destiny as our weapon. I feel like I should say, just in case people are unfamiliar, so I should go through the additional sets that we have here. So All Guild's Authority is the 2-piece is we reduce damage that we take by 15%, but then we also deal 30% more damage. And then the 3-piece set bonus is it reduces the damage we take from Elites by 30%, increases the damage we deal against Elites by 30%, making us kind of like elite hunters with this build. For the Captain Crimson, the 2-piece gives us reduced cooldown of all skills by 20% and gives us resource cost reduction by 20%. But the 3-piece then turns our cooldown reduction into damage increases by whatever percent our cooldown is. And then our damage taken is we get a bonus to that for our percent of resource cost reduction, giving us more survivability. And for those unfamiliar with the Endless Walk, so that's the Compass Rose and Traveler's Pledge, while we're standing still, we get this bonus of dealing up to 100% more damage. And then when we're moving around, we get this buff where we take less damage based on our stacks while moving around. For the cube, the items that we need here is we're going to be for the weapon enchant, I'm going to call it, well, the weapon cube slot, is we're going to use the Orb of Infinite Depth. So this is each time we hit an enemy with an explosive blast, your damage is increased by 10%, and your damage reduction is increased by 20% for 6 seconds. And you can stack this up to 4 times, so it gives us a damage boost as well as survivability. And then the armor, we are using the Shame of Delcir, so your signature spells attack 50% faster and restore 12 arcane power. So it's just going to make us attack like a madman. For the gems that we need for this build, So we are going to be using the Bane of the Trapped. Is our first legendary gem. So this, of course, is increased damage against enemies under the effects of control impairing effects by a certain percent. And then at rank 25, we get the aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards, thus giving us the bonus from Bane of the Trap. We also are going to be using Gogok with Swiftness, so gain an attack. It increases your attack speed or dodge by a certain percent for 4 seconds, and that attack stack, or that can stack up to 15 times. Then we get 1% of cooldown reduction per stack as well. And then lastly, we're going to be using Bane of the Stricken. So each attack we make against an enemy increases our damage against them by a certain percent, and that can stack as well. So each subsequent attack continues to build that stacking bonus that we get. And then at rank 25, we get 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. For our gems, or regular gems that we're going to be using, we're going to use a diamond in our helmet for cooldown reduction. And then we're going to be using the topazes in our armor for the increased intellect. And though I don't have a slot on this weapon here, we're going to be using the emerald for critical hit chance critical hit damage in our weapon. For the skills that we need for this build, for our primary, so our signature spell, we're going to be using Spectral Blade with the Flame Blade as the rune. So this, of course, is where we're going to get the benefit from all the damage increases, the combustion stacks, and all that is going to give our Spectral Blade here massive amounts of damage, as well as what we have in the cube. Our secondary here, so this is Disintegrate. So we're going to use Chaos Nexus. So this is going to let us light everything on fire, thus also proccing what we need to be able to do to use the Spectral Blade for the massive damage we're going to get. Our movement ability, we're going to use Teleport with Safe Passage, so that the rune on that for Safe Passage is when we take damage. We're going to take less damage after we use Teleport, so this is our movement. And then with our combustion stacks, if we have that up high enough, we're going to be able to basically teleport endlessly. For our next spell, we're using Black Hole with Spell Steal, so conjure a black hole that draws enemies into it and deals damage. Enemies hit by Black Hole deal reduced damage, and each enemy hit by Black Hole grants you increased damage. So this is going to be good for when we're stacking and grouping. Then Explosive Blast, so gather energy and it releases it as a chain of consecutive explosions. So we're using chain reaction there on Explosive Blast. This is going to give us a damage boost as well. And then lastly, we are using Frost Nova with Bone Chill, so it blasts nearby enemies and freezes them in place, and then enemies take more damage while frozen or chilled. So we're going to use that both as a way of controlling mobs as they chase after us, as well as freezing them and chilling them in order to get the damage increase against them as well. For our passives, we are using Evocation, so it reduces our cooldowns by 20%. Unwavering Will, so standing still for 1.5 seconds increases our armor and our resistance and our damage. And then Audacity, we deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards, which makes sense because we're going to be up close and personal with our Spectral Blade. And then lastly, we have Elemental Exposure. Damaging enemies with Arcane, Cold, Fire, or Lightning will cause them to take 5% more damage from your attacks for 5 seconds. Each different type of attack applies a stack, stacking up to 4 times. So we have all that covered with our Disintegrate, the Black Hole, and our Bone Chill. We're going to, and the Flame Blades or Spectral Blade, we're going to be able to utilize that as well to get the big damage increase as well from that. For the rotation, I'm just going to jump into a little Nephric here just to kind of show you how it works. So basically, let me find some mobs. So we're going to want to use your Black Hole there to group. We're a little bit squishy because we don't have our stacks built up, so that's the one thing to look out for. But it's basically Black Hole into Explosive Blast with the Frost Nova, and to be able to apply all our buffs for extra damage. Then we Disintegrate to light them on fire, and then you're going to be able to just use your Spectral Blades. Let me try to find another big group here. As you can see, our teleport is always off. We can pretty much spam that. He wasn't lit on fire, so he didn't die, and I went back into there for some unknown reason. So again, Black Hole, have our explosions going, light everything on fire. chill them with the Frost Nova, and then we can just walk up and hit them with our blades, and everything just gets blown up. So this is an elite hunter build. So if you do end up with a huge stack of mobs, obviously that's good. But because we're using all guilds, we want to kind of be focusing on elites. So we will use that teleport to find them. And then if you're in a big open area where it's easy to group, you can throw out your black hole, get them all grouped up, have your explosion going, freeze them in place, light them on fire, and then you can just blow them all up. That brings us to the end of this video and the guide. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. The rotation does take a little bit to get used to, and so does the squishiness, but you kind of get to figure it out. The most dangerous part is when we first walk in before we have our stacks built up and our damage reduction. So just keep that in mind. And obviously we have both the second life from our set as well as our follower will give us a third life. So that will come in handy. Both are on a 1-minute CD. So as long as we don't die twice in 60 seconds, we have a second life every 30 seconds, basically. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know below. I will do my best to answer them. As always, we appreciate likes, shares, and subscribes. And also keep coming back to the channel. We're making lots of guides for this season for the various classes. So be sure to come back and check them out. Until next time, I hope you're enjoying Diablo 3 Season 26.